Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Thank you for your awesome support on Patreon, Poorly Dangerously Jarman. Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk Midweek Mecha News. I am Luke Owen. Give this video a thumbs up, press the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to answer our question of the day. What did you think of AEW Dark and NWA Power? We've got a packed show of news for you today, including quick reviews of both those shows, the real reason Jeff Hardy was arrested, and did Bray Wyatt just agree to the criticism of the Hell in a Cell finish? Click the timestamps down below if you want to jump to any of those news stories. But first, the Wednesday Night War kicked off officially last week, with NXT going all the way 2 hours on USA Network and AEW launching Dynamite on TNT. But with SmackDown now on Fridays, there's a new war brewing for Tuesday nights. But this one isn't fought on the airwaves of cable television. This battle takes place in cyberspace. Following the live broadcast of Dynamite last week, All Elite Wrestling taped an additional 4 matches, which made up the debut episode of AEW Dark, which is free to air on their YouTube channel. The show, which is hosted by Tony Schiavone in a studio that is most definitely real and totally not a green screen, kicked off with Darby Allin picking up a win over Shima in an entertaining bout. This is Allin's first singles win, and because it was over the legendary Shima, it's been announced that he'll face the winner of the Cracker Barrel Clash, Jimmy Havoc, on tonight's Dynamite, with the winner facing AEW champion Chris Jericho on October 16th. There is so much upside to Darby Allin, and he already feels massively over with the AEW crowd. Tag team tournament entrants teamed up next as Private Party and Best Friends took on Lucha Brothers and the Hybrid 2 of Jack Evans and Angelico. This was a really fun 8-man tag that was full of great spots, but did get a bit confusing when tags just stopped happening and everyone got in to do big moves. And this was also a problem in the 6-man that main evented the show. I think it's just an AEW rule, but it's one that needs to be established by the announcers and the commentators quickly, so fans aren't sat there asking simple questions like the one I'm asking now. Lucha Brothers reversed Storm Zero into a Canadian Destroyer and hit an assisted package piledriver for the win, giving Hybrid 2 their first AEW win. The tag team action continued next as Britt Baker teamed with Ali to take on Bea Priestley and Penelope Ford.
That is a beautiful name, Penelope.
The crowd were mostly dead for this, and the action was broadly fine, with Baker picking up the win for her team with a mandible claw submission on Ford. Along with Havoc versus Allin, AEW Dark also announced that Baker will be in action on tonight's Dynamite, teaming with AEW Women's Champion Riho to take on Priestley and Emi Sakura. Those matches joined Shawn Spears versus Jon Moxley and Sammy Guevara and Jericho versus Dustin Runnels and Hangman Adam Page. The main event of AEW Dark was an all-out rematch, with Jurassic Express taking on SCU in a very, very fun match, with lots of comedy from Marco Stunt, amazing athleticism from Jungle Boy, and the utter brilliance of the sexy bastard Luchasaurus. Sadly, they couldn't pick up the win again, with SCU pinning Marco Stunt. Overall, AEW was a really good hour of wrestling, and a great accompaniment to Dynamite if you feel there isn't enough wrestling on your screens at the moment. But what about NWA Power? NWA Power, a title with more R's in its name than the word referrer, thanks ScrabbleCheat.org for that help, was a totally different show. Really, NWA Power feels like a time capsule show, a true throwback to old NWA shows from 30 plus years ago. The sets are old school, the on-screen graphics are old school, the values of its commentator are old school. You can almost hear Jim Cornette's nostalgia boner popping up against the table. NWA Power really succeeds in what it sets out to do. It's so old school, it's soundtracked by Dawkins' Into the Fire, a song that was released in 1984 and was featured in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. Tag teams The Dawsons and the Wildcards picked up squash wins, with the latter starting a feud with Eddie Kingston and Homicide, while Eli Drake had a short but competitive match against Caleb Connolly, and James Storm quickly defended his national championship in a 9-second squash. Seems to be a lot of that going around at the moment. And the main event was a 20-minute bout between Nick Aldis and Tim Storm, the latter of which cut an amazing promo before the match. This wasn't written by a group of people, this came from the heart and it felt genuine and pure. The resulting match was also very good, with Aldous picking up the win with a small package, meaning Storm can never challenge for the NWA World Championship ever again. For old school wrestling fans, this was a lot of fun. It took the feel of NWA shows and added modern wrestling standards to it. Some viewers might be turned off by the presentation of the show as it is appealing to a very niche audience, but I had a lot of fun with it. It also found a fan in SmackDown commentator Corey Graves, who tweeted, "Checking out NWA Power on YouTube right now. Really fun throwback presentation. Old school in a good way." And it was those old school fans that meant last week's season premiere of Raw drew the best rating it's had in months. It was reported later in the week that 500,000 people tuned in for the Miz TV segment with Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, where they announced their 10-man tag for Crown Jewel, and then immediately tuned out as soon as the segment was over. But despite all the news coming out of SmackDown, the controversy from Hell in a Cell, and the big hype for Tyson Fury appearing on the show, Raw dropped in the ratings this week, pulling in an average of 2.33 million viewers. However, even with that drop from the season premiere, it's better than what the show has been doing as of late. But WWE will be hoping for a ratings increase next week, as this Friday the 2019 draft kicks off on SmackDown on Fox, where we will once again have defined split rosters. There are some rumors floating around that Paul Heyman is high on both Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy, so there is a chance we could see them jump to Raw. While one theory as to why The Fiend didn't win the Universal Championship on Sunday is because Fox reportedly really want Bray Wyatt to be part of the Blue brand. One person who likely won't be on either show, sadly, is Sasha Banks. It was reported following Hell in a Cell that Banks picked up an injury, but there were no details on what it could be. Mike Johnson of PW Insider might have shed some light on the situation though, writing, "Word making the rounds is Sasha suffered a back injury in her match with Becky Lynch," adding there is no word yet on the severity of the issue. Dave Meltzer added on Wrestling Observer Radio that Banks' injury is being kept very quiet, but we should get more details in the coming weeks. Speaking of injuries, and there's been a lot of talk recently about a possible in-ring return for Edge. Dave Meltzer reported last week that the idea of him wrestling again has been talked about very privately, though the rated R superstar seemingly responded to those reports by saying, "No, I'm not. And no, I'm not." Edge has reportedly signed a new deal with WWE, and with Saudi Arabia paying a lot of money for nostalgia matches, it is interesting to note that Edge was in Pittsburgh recently on WWE Business. And the reason this is interesting is because Pittsburgh is the base of Dr. Joseph Maroon, the head of WWE's medical team and the only man who could clear Edge for in-ring competition. Edge in-ring competition definitely 100% confirmed. Edge made a name for himself during the Attitude Era with his epic clashes with the likes of the Hardy Boys, but sadly one of those foursome has once again found himself in trouble. Last week, it was reported that once again Jeff Hardy had been arrested for DWI, reporting that he was weaving badly in his lane after being spotted parked outside of a liquor store and buying a case of beer. TMZ have now reported the police report of the arrest notes that Hardy had dried blood on his nose, which Hardy told officers was from a fight he had with his wife Beth, who was also in the car. According to TMZ, Hardy informed the officers that he'd only had 2 shots of vodka before driving, but bombed the sobriety test and was uncooperative when he was asked for a blood sample and to perform a breathalyzer test. Police told TMZ that Hardy has not filed a domestic abuse report against his wife, and they will not be investigating the situation unless one is ordered. Sadly, this is Hardy's second arrest in 2019, after being arrested for public intoxication in July of this year. He is currently out injured from WWE with no timetable of when he'll be back in the ring. Speaking of getting back in the ring, and despite reports of him being injured, The Fiend was in the dark match segment of Raw attacking Cesaro, following his pretty disastrous Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. The finish of that match, which was ruled a no contest when Seth Rollins kicked too much of The Fiend's ass, was roundly booed by WWE fans in attendance, who chanted for refunds, bull S-word, and AEW. It was reported by the very reliable Sean Ross Sapp that Vince McMahon found all of this very funny in gorilla position, so That's just lovely. The company came under fire from fans for the poor treatment of The Fiend and the overall booking of the match, and we've personally been sent a lot of screenshots from SWAT Nation members who have cancelled their WWE Network subscription off the back of it. Deciding to have a little fun with the situation, porn company Brazzers tweeted, "Hey WWE, let us know if you need advice on how to craft logical and coherent storylines with satisfying finishes."
Sexy tweetality.
At the time of this recording, the funny tweet has had over 70,000 likes on Twitter, and it's been revealed that one of those likes came from Bray Wyatt himself. And a special thanks to Jason Frester for sending this over to us on Twitter. While this could just be Bray Wyatt agreeing that the funny tweet is funny, 2019 has seen several WWE stars publicly show their displeasure of booking decisions, including Luke Harper and Shawn Spears both asking for their releases from the company. So could it be that Bray Wyatt also doesn't agree with how Hell in a Cell went down? Thank you for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon pledge hammers, some of which you could see scrolling their way into my stomach. Check out Ollie Davis's review of the very forgettable Raw from this past Monday, and head on over to Screenstalker Live, where we'll be talking about the PlayStation 5 and playing some video games. I've been Luke Owen, and that was Midweek Mecha Wrestling.